My wife tried to claim half my savings after cheating on me with my best friend, so I took her to court and left her broke. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and until recently, I thought I had a pretty good life. I work as a freelance designer, married to my wife for 9 years, together for 12. We met in college, and she was everything to me, my partner, my best friend, my biggest supporter. Or so I thought. And then there's my best friend, who I've known since we were kids. The guy who was there through everything like a brother. Except brothers don't do what he did. Over the last year, things in my marriage started to feel off. My wife was on her phone constantly, texting and laughing at random times. I'd ask her what was so funny, and she'd roll her eyes and say, "Work stuff?" That made no sense because she hated her job and never talked about her coworkers like they were funny. But every time I asked about it, she'd get annoyed and accuse me of being controlling or paranoid. I didn't want to be that guy who didn't trust his wife, so I let it go. At the same time, my best friend, let's call him the Snake, started acting weird too. He stopped coming over as much, and when we did hang out, he was always distracted, checking his phone, or making lame excuses to leave early. I figured maybe it was work stress or something going on with his wife, so I didn't push him. Looking back, I feel like an idiot for not connecting the dots sooner. The truth came out in the most unexpected way. I was cleaning out a drawer in our bedroom and found an old phone of hers. She'd upgraded months ago, but this one still worked. I powered it on, and there it all was. Texts, pictures, videos, the whole disgusting story. She and the Snake had been sleeping together for over a year. They joked about me, laughed about how clueless I was, and made plans to meet up right under my nose. I sat there reading every message, every photo, feeling like my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. They even used code words to cover their tracks, like gym session and work dinner. It was so blatant, so bold. They weren't just sneaking around, they were mocking me. I wanted to confront them right then and there, but I knew I had to be smart about it. They thought I was an idiot. Fine. I'd use that to my advantage. I forwarded everything to myself and spent the next week gathering more evidence. I started tracking her phone's location whenever she said she was working late or meeting friends. Every time, it lined up with his apartment or a cheap motel. I printed out all the texts, pictures, and location data and put together a neat little dossier. I wasn't just going to confront them, I was going to destroy them. The perfect opportunity came when my wife insisted on hosting a neighborhood barbecue. She invited the Snake and his wife, along with a bunch of other friends and family. I knew this was my chance. The day of the barbecue, I acted like everything was normal. I grilled burgers, passed out drinks, and made small talk with the guests. My wife and the Snake were their usual charming selves, laughing and joking like they didn't have a care in the world. It made me sick to watch them, but I kept my cool. When everyone was settled and the party was in full swing, I tapped my glass to get everyone's attention. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said, smiling. "I just wanted to take a moment to share something important." My wife looked at me with a nervous smile, probably thinking I was going to make a toast about her or something. She couldn't have been more wrong. I reached into a box and started handing out copies of the dossier I'd put together. Each one was a complete record of their affair. Texts, photos, everything. People started flipping through the pages, and the gasps and whispers started immediately. My wife's face went pale, and the Snake looked like he was about to vomit. "This," I said, holding up a copy, "is what my wife and my best friend have been doing behind my back for the past year. They've been lying to me, to all of us, and treating me like a fool. I thought you all deserved to know the truth." The silence was deafening. My wife started crying, screaming at me about how I was ruining everything. The Snake stammered, trying to deny it, but the evidence was right there in black and white. Guests started confronting them, asking how they could do something so disgusting. It was chaos, and it was glorious. That night, my wife packed a bag and left. The next morning, I filed for divorce. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course it wasn't. My wife and the Snake weren't done yet. A week later, I got a letter from her lawyer demanding half of my personal savings. Apparently, she thought she was entitled to it because we were still technically married. This was the same woman who had spent the past year funneling money from our shared account to fund her affair. Hotels, dinners, gifts, and now she wanted more? The audacity was unreal. I handed everything over to my lawyer, including proof of her spending during the affair. In court, she tried to play the victim, talking about how much she'd sacrificed for our marriage. The judge wasn't having it. Not only did she lose her claim to my savings, but she was also ordered to reimburse me for some of the money she'd wasted and cover part of my legal fees. Watching her storm out of the courtroom was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. But she wasn't done yet. She and the snake started spreading rumors about me, saying I was controlling and emotionally abusive. They even left fake reviews on my freelance business profiles, claiming I was unprofessional and unreliable. It was a direct attack on my livelihood, and I wasn't going to let it slide. I immediately contacted the platforms where the fake reviews had been posted and provided evidence that they were fraudulent. Most of them were removed pretty quickly, but I didn't stop there. I wrote a post on my professional blog addressing the situation without naming them directly. I explained the challenges of dealing with personal betrayals and false accusations while staying focused on my work. The response was incredible. Clients I hadn't worked with in years reached out with support, leaving glowing testimonials to counter the fake reviews. The whole thing backfired on them spectacularly. My business grew instead of suffering. Around this time, my wife made another move. She showed up at my apartment one night, tearfully apologizing and begging me to give her another chance. She said she'd ended things with the snake and wanted to make things right. She even blamed him for everything, saying he manipulated her and she didn't know how to get out of it. It was all lies, of course, but the sheer nerve of her trying to spin the situation like she was the victim was almost impressive. I let her talk for a while, then I pulled out the paternity test results I'd kept as a little keepsake of her betrayal. Maybe you should focus on making things right with the actual father of your child, I said, handing them to her. The look on her face was priceless. She started yelling about how I was cruel and unforgiving, but I calmly opened the door and told her to leave. Not long after that, the snake tried his hand at damage control. He reached out to mutual friends, claiming that I was exaggerating the situation and that nothing inappropriate had ever happened between him and my wife. He even implied that I'd fabricated the evidence to make him look bad. Unfortunately for him, our friends aren't idiots. They'd seen the dossier at the barbecue and knew exactly who he was. A few of them called him out directly, asking why he hadn't defended himself at the party if he was so innocent. He had no answer, and whatever few people were still in his corner abandoned him. His social life collapsed, and his professional reputation took a hit too. I didn't even have to do anything to make it happen. He dug his own grave. Just when I thought they couldn't sink any lower, my wife pulled her most ridiculous stunt yet. She announced to our families that she was pregnant and that the baby was mine. She even filed a paternity claim in court, demanding financial support before the baby was born. The timeline didn't add up at all, but she was banking on the fact that I wouldn't push back too hard. She was wrong. I immediately requested a prenatal paternity test, which she fought against, claiming it was too stressful for the baby. The court ordered it anyway, and surprise, surprise, the baby wasn't mine. It was the snake's. I made sure both of our families knew the truth, and hers was horrified. They cut ties with her completely, leaving her isolated and alone. As for the snake, his own wife finalized their divorce and used the pregnancy as further evidence of his infidelity. She took him for everything he had, leaving him broke and bitter. At this point, I thought about letting things go, but then I realized something. They'd shown no remorse and had spent months trying to ruin me. I wasn't going to let them walk away unscathed. I submitted the evidence of their affair and financial misdeeds to their professional networks. My wife's corporate job had a strict code of ethics, and they fired her for breaching it. The snake, who worked in a small, tight-knit community, became a pariah. Neither of them could rebuild their lives without facing the consequences of their actions. Now, months later, I'm in a much better place. Therapy has helped me process everything, and my business is thriving. I've reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and started focusing on myself. As for my ex-wife and the snake, they're living in the mess they created. She's struggling to make ends meet, raising a child she thought would secure her future, and he's a broke, disgraced loser. They thought they could destroy me, but all they did was destroy themselves. My life is better without them, and that's the kind of revenge that lasts.